Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining us today. We're here with Brett Gilliland. He is the co-founder and CEO of Elite Entrepreneurs, and he is a good friend of mine and was also a vendor and sponsor of the AEA Entrepreneurial Attorney Summit, which we greatly appreciated. I personally know Brett and his partner Stephanie very well. They have helped us significantly with helping us grow our business and understand exactly how to go about the process of putting values and mission and vision and all of those great pieces Brett's going to talk about today together so that you have a great foundation. But I just wanted to welcome Brett and hopefully give you a good introduction and kind of let you tell the audience a little bit more about yourself. Hopefully I didn't say anything that wasn't true there, but I think I feel pretty confident I was on point.
Yeah, no, I really appreciate it, Travis. We're excited at Elite Entrepreneurs to be connected with the AEA. I feel like this is an amazing community starting to form, and I appreciate all that Travis is doing to bring that together. We enjoyed sponsoring the event, and Stephanie had a great time getting to know some of the people who were there. And I'm really excited about the timing of this webinar, just a couple weeks after that event, where we get to share some content with people that people can start to use right away and benefit their businesses. So excited to share ways to boost your company's growth and reduce chaos at the same time.
Yeah, thank you. And this is just one of the many benefits that the AEA plans to provide its members. And it's all about getting the right information in the in the entrepreneur's hands, and giving them the ability to make good decisions. And I know, Brett, that's something you're a big fan of, and you guys have done it well, and we certainly learned a lot from you. So again, a little bit more about Brett's background here, my background. Hopefully, everyone on here knows me well enough that I'm not going to spend too much time talking about myself. But is there anything that you wanted to mention about yourself, Brett, that you didn't get a chance to mention earlier?
Yeah, I think, people can read the bullets there, but the bottom line takeaway is that I've spent the last 7-8 years helping hundreds of businesses like yours, those of you who are listening in, grow their businesses successfully. So I love organizations, how they tick. I love figuring out how to improve organizations to get better results. And we're especially passionate at Elite Entrepreneurs about helping 7-figure businesses learn the mindsets and the skill sets and the tool sets to grow to 10 million and beyond.
Yeah, and it does take us a very specific type of mindset to do that at various phases of the business's life cycle. And I know you're going to talk about that, but it was very inspiring to me to actually, meet a lot of the folks there in the group and being able to network with them and, listen to what all the value that you and Stephanie and the team bring. And it's just so many great topics that you guys have at your quarterly events. It's really nice. So definitely appreciate what you guys do.
Thank you, Travis.
Well, moving on, I guess.
Is this my? Okay,
thank
you. So we put this slide up not to depress everybody, but we want to encourage some engagement with this webcast. So for everybody who's on right now, I'd love for you to use the chat function to respond to questions I'm going to ask. This slide right here is just an acknowledgement slide. It's sort of a "we get you" slide. And every business owner, and it doesn't matter what stage of business you're in, you experience some of these things that happen to you as the business owner. And really, nobody else but another business owner knows what that's like. You can try to share it with loved ones. You can try to share it with friends. You can try to tell them what it's like to have that burden on your shoulders all the time. But unless somebody's actually felt the weight of the world on their shoulders, the weight of owning and running a business, they just don't know what it's like. So here's some of our attempts to put into words some of the things that you may experience sometimes as you're trying to grow your business. So if you don't mind, just to get this engagement thing going, and I know Travis can watch the chat function for me, why don't you just chat in if any of these resonate more powerfully with you than others right now. And I know there are times and seasons where this comes and goes. You might feel like don't have the right team is your biggest challenge right now, or that you're reactive and not proactive. Why don't you just type in the phrase, or even your own phrase, if you don't see one on here that speaks to you. Type in the thing that kind of is your experience right now or in the most recent past. So Travis, if you get any engagement on that, I'd love to hear what people are writing in.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll let you know. And I can tell you just from my experience, that page, I could probably have 15 pages full of different, phrases on there that to define my frustration sometimes. So it's, I think we could have probably did an entire presentation on frustrations people have running their business.
Yeah. So again, we're not trying to start this off on a low note, but we want to acknowledge the reality of what you're dealing with. And so what today's webinar is about is to get away from this, right? We want to help you climb out of this, what we'll call this a pit. I don't know if you would describe it that way, but we want to help you rise above this and get to a place where your company is growing the way you would like, and you're reducing the chaos, and you're reducing all of these things on the screen here. So did anybody chat in response?
Nope, no engagement.
Okay. So folks, if you want to fully benefit from our time together today, I strongly advise you to turn off everything else and just focus on this and engage. I know what it's like to try to do this sort of thing, in the background while I'm taking care of something else, and you just won't get anything out of it. So anyway, I encourage you to engage. I'm going to ask some more questions. Okay, so becoming a CEO is an exercise in relinquishing control. This is a quote from a friend of mine named Clayton Mask, who's the CEO of Infusionsoft. And recently they rebranded, and the company is now called Keep. But Clay talks about this journey with entrepreneurs. There's a point in your business's life, in the stages of small business growth, where you go from being the entrepreneur to becoming the CEO. And in order for you to move to that place where you now are the leader of leaders, right? Your company grows, you start to have people, larger teams, and then you start to have leadership team, and all of that sort of thing happens. There's an evolution. You go from entrepreneur to CEO, and the trick is learning how to relinquish control. So let's go back to that other slide now. We're going to go forward, but it'll be that same slide. You may feel that it's impossible to relinquish control when you're experiencing all of these emotions and all of these circumstances. So I'm excited to share with you today the secret, and we can go to the next one, Travis. The secret that ultra successful CEOs have in common. Okay, and what is it? It's this thing. It's this phrase or this sentence right here. They have systems in place that put themselves and their teams in a position to take precise, efficient action to achieve their goals. This is the secret. This is how you grow your company and reduce the chaos. Okay, that sounds simplistic. I'm going to give you some drill down on this, the actual work you have to do, the actual systems you got to go put in place in order to obtain this benefit. Okay, so let's go to the next. This is story time. So if you haven't been paying close attention yet, hopefully this story will pique some interest. I didn't share this in our bio. Travis and I didn't talk about this, but I live in Arizona. Okay, I live and work in the Phoenix area. Those of you who are familiar with the Phoenix area, you know that these pictures are not of the Phoenix area, right? Phoenix is in the desert. It's hot, it's dry, it's brown, it's prickly, right? There's cactus and scorpions and things like that. It's not beautiful like these pictures. But thankfully, my family and I can drive about 90 minutes away, between 90 minutes and 2 hours, to this beautiful mountain lake. It's called Woods Canyon Lake. It's in Arizona. And we like to fish as a family. So you'll see some pictures of our family fishing here. So let's go to the next slide, Travis. So these are my boys, and we'll spend a couple hours on the side of that lake, Woods Canyon Lake, trying to catch the prize rainbow trout. Okay, any of you who like fishing, you know there's nothing quite like the thrill of putting that line out there and having some action on the other end, and especially when you watch kids trying to pull in a fish. It's really fun. So one day we spent 2 hours out there. We had 5 poles in the water. We tried different depths. We tried different baits. I mean, we were beating that water to death for the better part of 2 hours. So anybody who can do quick math, 2 hours times 5 poles, we had 10 fishing hours in with no results. Absolutely no results, no rainbow trout. So then enter the next character in our story. This is an osprey, and that probably doesn't matter too much for our story, but that's the name of that bird. It's an osprey. When we go to Woods Canyon Lake, almost every time without fail, we see this bird. Somebody caught a nice picture of it, and I grabbed it off the web, but this is the same osprey from Woods Canyon Lake. And that osprey, after 2 hours of us working and working and working, doing what we knew, everything we knew to get the result we wanted and coming up short, this osprey got off its perch, circled around the lake for about 90 seconds, dove, and comes out of the water with that beautiful rainbow trout. Okay, so the thing we worked 10 fishing hours to get took this bird less than 2 minutes to get. What does that mean for us as business owners? What I want you to think about is, how is your company aligned to take precise, efficient action to achieve your goals? So this webinar is for you if you're frustrated enough to make some changes. I know sometimes we sort of get used to frustration, and we say to ourselves, that's frustrating, but it's not frustrating enough for me to do something about it. So this webinar is for you if you're frustrated enough to make some changes, if you're growth-minded, you want to grow your seven-figure business. If you're not at seven figures yet, if you haven't cracked that $1 million mark yet, this content will still be relevant for you. It's especially relevant once you break into that 7 figures, but it'll be useful for all of you if you're interested in these other things we're talking about. If you understand the value of people, you're determined to make some improvements, and you're willing to invest some time and resources to do something different, this is going to be a great webinar for you. Okay, it's not for you, so we can go to the next slide. This webinar is not for you if you don't plan on growing a team with the business. In other words, if you like the idea of growing a business but keeping the staff to a bare minimum, like employees are a necessary evil, you see that next bullet, or you're just looking for a quick fix or silver bullet, this might not be for you. There's specific things you have to do, and it takes work and it takes time. But Travis and others that we've worked with have done that work and have seen benefits that make this super valuable for those who are willing to put in the work. Okay, so I just wanted to put this in here because if you feel like, yeah, this really isn't for me, then I do think you should multitask or do email or just hang up altogether. If you think this is that you want to build a team and build a business and reduce some chaos in your life and actually have the things that you wanted when you started your business in the first place, and you're ready to do something about it, this webinar is for you. And if you'll stay to the end of the webinar, I'm going to offer you something very valuable at the end that is not, and I don't mean I'm going to sell you something, I'm going to offer you a free gift from me to you. Okay, so this image is super powerful. It's called the stages of small business. I sometimes refer to it as stages of small business growth. Every business who grows through these stages, whether or not they have these stages in their head, go through similar things. And it doesn't matter what industry it's in. I love that the AEA is putting something together for entrepreneurial attorneys. Okay, so I'm going to visualize in my mind your practices, your firms, as you're growing your firms, you're growing through these stages. You'll notice if you look at the second row called sales in the data chart there, you'll see an interesting pattern of revenue, especially as you go from stage 1 to stage 2, 2 to 3, and so forth. Approximately every time you triple in revenue, there's a new stage. And it kind of makes sense. What worked to get you to where you are isn't sufficient to get you to where you want to go. So the important thing from this infographic here is there's a stage change roughly every 3x in revenue on the 1s and 3s, right? 100,000, 300,000, a million, 3 million, 10 million. And every time you go through one of those stage changes, there's an upgrading that needs to happen in the business. Some combination of people, processes, and systems has to be upgraded in order to take you to the next level. So for those of you who are brave enough to engage via the chat function, why don't you let me know what stage you're in? And you can narrow in on the sales line, or you can narrow in on the number of employees. It's even better if you wrote in the number of employees you had, or if you're willing to share the revenue that you're at for the year. This is annual revenue. So just let me know how many employees or how many sales in terms of annual revenue, and that'll give us a feel for who we're talking to, and I can help tailor the message more to you. So Travis, do you have any engagement happening on the chat function at this point?
Nothing yet, Brett. Sorry about that. Nothing yet.
No, that's okay. I just have to wake them up a little bit more. My fishing story was too boring. So look, guys, if you want to grow your business, help us know where you're at, because that's the way that we can help you the most. But what I want to reinforce with this slide is you have an opportunity to move from one stage to the next if you know what the hurdles are. So I see that somebody engaged.
We have a Barry Irwin just logged in and said 36,000 solo practice. So, you know, you guys just starting off. So that's a thank you for the feedback. We appreciate it.
Yeah, Barry, thank you for jumping in. I appreciate that. So what you'll see when you're first starting off is that you've got to manage time, and you got to figure out how to get leads, right? So the biggest hurdle, the bottom row of that table shows you the biggest hurdle. And the information we're going to share with you today will be relevant to you, but it won't be the most important thing for you. The most important thing for you will be to figure out, where do I focus my time and energy? How do I get leads? Okay, so that's, and you're probably like, yeah, that's the obvious. You can call me master of the obvious. But then as you move into stage 2 and stage 3, it's about sales and a consistent marketing and fulfillment process. And then finally, as you get into the 7-figure area, and then it starts to move into people and systems, leadership and culture. So the things I'm going to share today are most relevant to stage 4 and stage 5 businesses, or the higher end of stage 3, but everybody can benefit from the material that I'm going to share. All right, let's go to the next one, Travis. Okay, here's a quote from one of our good friends. His name is Bill Harney. This is going to be a little bit of a before and after. So Bill Harney he sent us this email. He said, business was slowing, maybe even on the verge of stalling. I was working 70 to 80 hours a week just getting things done. I thought I had to do everything myself in order for it to be right. I didn't know where we were going to be in a year nor how to get there. But I was convinced there had to be a better way. Too many people less talented than I was were successful, so why couldn't it be me too? But I needed help. I couldn't get there on my own. So Barry, you can certainly relate to this, I would imagine. At first, you're just grinding it out, right? And you're working a ton of hours. As your business grows, you continue to have to work those type of hours usually until you start to figure out how to put these systems in place to grow more intentionally and more methodically, I guess is the way I would say it. So let's go to the next slide, Travis. I just want to remind you as we get into the content here, the secret is that the most successful, the ultra successful CEOs have systems in place that allow their teams to take precise, efficient action to achieve their goals. Just like that osprey pulling the trout out of the lake. You got to be able to use all the parts, right? The eyes, the beak, the feathers, the wings, all that has to come together in coordinated fashion to take precise, efficient action to achieve the goals. Okay, let's go on. So how do they do it? What are those systems they put in place? I'm going to share these 3 are the most important, in my opinion, for you to have the benefits of precise, efficient action in your team. That coordinated action. So set the vision, build a world-class team, and utilize a meeting rhythm are the systems that we're going to talk about, and we go into a little more detail on each one. Let's move on. So the first one, set the vision. When we talk about setting the vision, we're talking about purpose, values, and mission. So it's not a vision statement. Okay, there are no words to the vision itself. It's 3 components when I say set the vision. It's purpose, values, and mission. So we're going to look at each one. We'll start with purpose. So the purpose is the why. It's the why your company exists. Your firm exists because. And you could say, well, we exist to do the work that we do, right? It's kind of a lot of times people mess this up by making it their statement of work.
Brett,
what I want you to know.
Hey,
yeah.
Brett, we had Kareem who just chimed in. He said, client acquisition is the most important. With clients, you have business, you have a business, you'd implement the tools you're setting about any input he's asking.
Yeah. Okay. So did we get a chance to see what stage they were in?
Kareem, do you mind sharing with us what stage your business is in, what your current revenue is?
Or number of employees? I mean, just give me a sense for where you're at. We'll try to answer that quickly. I'll move on the content, and then if we hear back on that, we'll come back around to it in the Q&A if we need to, Travis.
Okay.
I love the question, though. Thank you for engaging. So I agree. Client acquisition is the most important, especially as you're working through stages 1, 2, and 3. At some point, you'll solve the client acquisition challenge more systematically, right? You'll have a mechanism, you'll have a machine in place for capturing leads, for nurturing those leads, for getting those sales, and you'll break into that 7-figure revenue mark, and you'll start to feel like, okay, I now know how to get clients consistently, and now I've got new challenges around people and leadership and strategy and organization development. So there's a new set of challenges that I'm addressing specifically here today. But you're absolutely right. If you haven't hit that 7-figure mark, client acquisition is like front and center in your face all the time. We've got to get those clients to fuel the business. All right, so on the purpose, this is the why. This is the big impact. If I asked any of you who, do team members of yours, people who work for you in your firm, could they tell me, as a complete stranger, could they tell me what the purpose of your firm is? Could they tell me? Is it something that they would be passionate about? Is it something that drives everything that you do in your firm? If the answer is no, there's probably, and if the answer is not a definitive yes, there's probably some work to do still in clarifying that purpose. And it's the core element of vision. Let's go ahead and go to that Simon Sinek quote that you flashed up there, Travis. So from Simon Sinek, he's the guy who is famous for start with why, right? Start with this core purpose. If you hire people just because they can do a job, they'll work for your money. But if you hire people who believe what you believe, they'll work for you. And I'll even suggest a correction here for Simon. They'll work with you with blood and sweat and tears. Now, Travis, you have a little bit of experience with this. I'm going to hit you cold on this. You don't know that I'm going to ask you this, but that's all right. Have you noticed any different when you got your purpose clear for your organization? Did you notice any difference in the way your team showed up, like from working for you as an employee to working with you as somebody who's passionate about the purpose?
Yeah, absolutely. When we went from a mindset of they're working for, prior to that, when they were working for the company, just to get a paycheck, they were, their mindset now is we're working for our clients. And, that was a big mind shift. And, they've gone from reporting to me to feel like they're responsible and accountable to our clients. And it makes a big difference. And it makes a big difference of how they come in and they approach their work and they feel about the outcomes, because it's just more personal. And, there's more value in what they're doing. And I think they feel more fulfilled personally. So it makes a huge difference. And it seems like such a small piece that people overlook, because I think a lot of business owners like myself just said, of course we know why we do what we do, right? Like I love what I do. Well, not everyone does. It works for us, right? They just not necessarily, they're not that bought in. But when you give them the entire vision and purpose and the reason why you're doing what you're doing, and they get on board with it, man, what a difference.
Yeah, it makes a huge difference. I appreciate you being willing to just take a question like that unprepared. But and I didn't know exactly what you would say, but hundreds of people we've worked with like Travis would say something similar to what he said. There's a difference, and it's one of these intangible things. But when people start to work for something they care about, where now they're a little more emotionally invested in the work that they do day in and day out, there's a difference in how they show up, not just in the office, but with the clients or the customers, right? Or with partners, whoever they're working with. If there's a fire inside of them, if they have this passion for the purpose that you're all up to, it makes a huge difference. So great work by Simon Sinek. Start with why, but they will work with you when you get this right. Okay, let's go to the next one. So the next component of setting the vision is values. Purpose is the why. values is the how, or values are the how. And they represent the core beliefs of your firm, and they never change. And I'm very specific when I say your firm. At first, it's kind of inseparable, right? If you're the solo attorney, the solopreneur attorney, then it's you and the firm are interchangeable, right? But over time, as you start to add people, the values of the firm need to be clear and distinct from the values of the founder, the owner attorney. So it doesn't mean they're not consistent. They better be consistent. Otherwise, that wouldn't make a lot of sense for you to be working there. But the organization, the firm, needs to have its own identity that starts with purpose, then goes to values. And these values, how would you know if somebody lives your values? You would see it in your walk and talk, in their walk and talk every day. And you would be modeling it in your walk and talk every day. So it permeates the whole organization. So if you ever wonder, how does an attorney create a healthy culture in their firm? It starts with purpose and values. Everybody's on the same page around why we're doing this and how we go about doing our work. This is our way of being. All right, so let me ask you this. Those of you who have, if you have any employees, if you have team members in your firm, why don't you just yes or no in the chat box, do your employees know what the values of your firm are? Have they been articulated? Is it part of the hiring or onboarding process? Do people know what they are, and are you consistently talking about them and living them? Any of you who are brave enough to chat in on that, please do. Let's go ahead and go to the next slide while we're waiting for that, Travis.
Yeah, I would even say, Brett, just to chime in, I think it's important. It's not necessarily even that you have to have employees. I think, when you start a business, it's something you should start with is to, A, why are we doing that? Why do I want to do this? B, how do I want my company? What kind of values do I want my company to have? And when I go to hire someone, what kind of values am I looking for when I hire that person? So, I think it's an important step at any phase of the business cycle, personally. I wish I would have did it earlier. It would have made my life a lot easier.
So I love that you said that, and I've heard that same sentiment from hundreds of business owners. I wish I had done this sooner. So along those lines, absolutely agree with what Travis is saying. The reason I find that most solopreneurs don't do it is that it's kind of intuitive. They're like, well, I know what my purpose is. I know what my values are. I don't really need to do that work yet. And to some extent, that's true. I mean, you're living one with the practice or the firm, right? So it's not separatable at that point. But at the moment that you're going to add somebody, if you've done all that clarifying work, it makes it a ton easier. And I think that's the part that most business owners wish, I wish I'd done that right away from the start so that we could grow this thing without the learning curve and the hiccups that most of us experience. Okay, so just this quote here from David Horsiger: people trust the clear and distrust the ambiguous. If you make the purpose and the values super clear, you're going to be fostering an environment of great trust. Let me say this: when you go to do this work, purpose and values, I hear a lot of people these days talk about millennials, how difficult it is to work with them. Maybe they're challenging as employees. I find, and this isn't unique to millennials, but it includes millennials. I find that millennials want to work for a purpose that they care about. And I find that if the values are very clear, they could see if this is going to fit well with them. It's going to, fit. I think of like a glove, a good glove fit. It's not too big, it's not too small. It fits just right. If you get your values articulated and then you hire to them, it just feels right? And I think employees sense that as they move into your organization, if the values and the purpose are clear and they're evident in everything that you're doing. Way more trust, way more effectiveness. Okay, let's go to the next one. So the last component of vision is mission. And the mission, I like to talk about it in terms of the current mission, because once you complete this very specific mission, you're going to create a new mission. All right, so this is a destination, not a generic statement of work. It's not just our law firm is dedicated to helping those who've been in an accident or been injured some way. That's a general statement of what we do, but it's not a specific mission. So a specific mission, here's an example for elite entrepreneurs. Our mission is to help 1,000 elite entrepreneurs grow meaningful businesses by the end of 2021. So that's the mission we're up to right now. At the end of 2021, we'll declare victory on that mission because we will have done the work to get there, and then we'll create our next mission. So you need to have a specific destination to provide the clarity that your team needs. So for those of you who are brave enough to use the chat function to sort of self-evaluate, on the whole, if you look at the full setting the vision of purpose, values, and mission, how well are you doing with total clarity, every team member in the company, on purpose, values, and mission? Scale of 1 to 5, 5 being outstanding, 1 being horrible. How well are you doing at getting super clear alignment to a vision in your company, your firm? Anybody willing to chime in on that?
Nothing so far, but I'll let you know.
Okay, great. So let's go to the next slide. So we talked about setting the vision. This is a way that we've had several of our customers put together what we call a one-pager, or their strategy plan on one page, and they put a nice image to it or a metaphor. And this, you'll see at the top of these examples, purpose, values, and mission. And in the one that we're seeing right in the front, the mission to Saturn, you'll see little objectives along the way, right? Mars mission, Jupiter mission, Saturn mission. So we've got the long-term destination. At the time this was created back in probably 2013, they saw that, by 2017 we wanted to be at Saturn, but the first year we're going to do this, and then we're going to go here, and then we're going to do that. So we're just creating some visual way for people to see what we're up to together, and it brings a ton of alignment. So I would highly recommend, if you do the purpose, values, mission work to set the vision for your firm, that you come up with some fun analogy or visual that helps people be aligned to what's going on. Okay, and then what I would say, let's go to the next slide. You should also just infuse it into your space. Everything that you do from a purpose, values, mission standpoint can be incorporated right into your space. So this is an example from a company called Keeping Current Matters. Bill Harney, the one that gave the before quote towards the beginning of this presentation, this is their office, and this is how they've incorporated it into their space. Okay, cool. So the next secret ingredient to having this, being able to boost your growth and reduce chaos, is to build a world-class team. So you start off with setting the vision. Now we're moving to building a world-class team. I like to call this hire, lead, and fire to the vision. So if we can go to the next slide, that's what it should say. Hire, lead, and fire to the vision. So those values we talked about in the vision need to show up behaviorally in the way you're assessing your candidates. Okay, let me say that another way, because this is a really important point. If you're not clear what your values look like day in and day out through behavior and through patterns of people's language, right? How they interact and communicate with one another. If you're not clear on that, it's really hard to assess whether a candidate, a prospective employee coming into your firm, is going to be a good fit with that or not. So then we make hiring mistakes. Now, for anybody on this call who's done any hiring in their life, I'm going to make a pretty safe assumption and say you've probably messed it up at least one time. Probably hired the wrong person at least one time. Okay, is that a safe assumption? Would somebody be willing to chime in on the chat? And let's get really painful with this for just a second. How costly was it for you to get that hire wrong? Okay, just put a relatively conservative dollar amount on how much it cost you to make a bad hire. Anybody willing to share that?
I can share my experience. I know, a bad hire, costs us, depending on the position, but anywhere from 45 to 80 grand.
Yeah, and that's not an exaggeration. In fact, I often get people chime in saying things like in the hundreds of thousands of dollars range. And Travis is absolutely right. It does depend on the position, right? If you're hiring somebody to answer the phones at the front desk, probably not quite as expensive to get that wrong. However, let me challenge your thinking on that just a little bit, if you're assuming that. What if a prospective client calls in and has a horrible experience with the person at the front desk, and they walk away, And that maybe that was a 7-figure client right there, right? $1 million opportunity that walked away because you had the wrong person in the seat.
Well, Brett, let me chime in real quick on that one, because this is a huge point with attorneys. And it's most attorneys, especially at the smaller phase, answer their own phones, which could be just as bad. But it's, at that point, it should be resonating with everybody on this webinar, because I can tell you from experience, typically the first impression experience that you get when you call a law firm, at least 80% of the time, is horrific. And they don't factor in how much money that experience is costing them. And, this, more to your point, it just makes sense to understand exactly who you're going to hire, why you're going to hire them, and what values they need to have in order to embody, everything you want out of that position.
Yeah, thank you. And the attorney space way better than I do, so I appreciate you applying it to them better than I can. But I know whether or not it's a law firm or any other business, it is costly to get the wrong person in there. And you've all dealt with these headaches. You've dealt with the headaches. Your loved ones, your friends have dealt with the headaches, right? Because you talk about them, you talk about those bad hires to other people that you should be enjoying your time with. Instead, you're talking about the frustration of having made this wrong hire. So it happens to all of us. It's super expensive. When you get the purpose, values, mission right, then you can hire, lead, and fire to that vision in a way that significantly reduces the mistakes, the misses on that, right? And the very costly errors. So I won't spend too much more time on this, but the leadership that you exhibit ongoing after you bring those right fit people in, and then if you have to fire somebody, the way that you hire, lead, and fire is the way that you reinforce the culture of your company. And you may not like to talk about culture, and some people think that's too soft, but culture really influences everything about the performance of your business. There's nothing that happens in your business that isn't a direct result of people taking coordinated action. And the way that you best align that team and create a healthy work environment is by setting that vision and then making sure you protect the front door so that you only ever bring in the right people, and then you lead them in a way that is consistent with what your purpose, values, and mission say. So we're going to move on from this, but this is, once you get this right, it's a powerful boost to your company. This is what Rich had to say about this. I now spend at least 50% of my time working on the business. I plan and lead our weekly meetings and our quarterly and annual retreats. We have a clear org chart. We did not even have one before Elite Forum. Each new employee has a clear job title, ownership, and top 1 to 3 goals each quarter. I'm constantly learning how to be a better leader and how to grow a company with a strong, happy, effective culture. When you do this right, you start to be able to work more on your business. You're making that transition from entrepreneur to CEO. Right now, from attorney doing all of the casework to leader, leading a company that's growing in its ability to serve more clients. All right, the last thing we're going to talk about is utilize a meeting rhythm. This is system number 3 for those ultra successful CEOs. So we go to the next slide here. This is where you're now being able to turn vision into reality. It's one thing to set a lofty vision that people are excited about. It's another thing to actually turn that vision into results. And the meeting rhythm is the key to that. So let me, we haven't had a lot of engagement on this, but if anybody's willing to chime in on the chat, let me ask you this. How many of you have a meeting rhythm in place where you at least have some sort of quarterly planning cadence and a weekly meeting cadence? You just say yes, no in the chat on that. And I don't care if you're all alone, if you're the solopreneur or the leader of a 10, 12, 15 person firm. How many of you have a regularly scheduled cadence for quarterly planning and weekly assessment of how you're doing? Yes, no on that.
Nothing yet, Brett.
Nothing. Okay. All right. Well, this is your opportunity to work on the business, to get out of the whirlwind, to get super clear, and a way to enroll people really powerfully in a co-creative process to achieve goals. Okay, let's go to the next slide. The timing on this, I mentioned quarterly and weekly. To me, those are the bare minimum. And again, I don't care if you're a single attorney out there practicing all by yourself. That's fine. You need to have at least quarterly plans and at least some sort of weekly mechanism for checking in against those plans and prioritizing your work for the week. Ideally, you have every single one of some form of these 5 meetings: an annual planning meeting, 3 other quarterly planning meetings, because the annual is, you know, it's the whole year and the first quarter, then your next 3 quarters, every month, every week, and then daily sort of plan and check-in, focus and check-in. If you will establish some sort of meeting rhythm, here's what I promise everybody on this call. If you will set the vision, get clear on purpose, values, and mission, and then dedicate time consistently on a rhythmic basis to some sort of meeting rhythm, then you will make progress. You will start to see growth and less chaos in your life and in your business. All right, let's go to the next slide. So here's what Eric Sparrow had to say about what we've been sharing. No longer am I the sole decision maker. My team leaders are really taking charge. It's amazing what can be accomplished when our team members know that I have total faith in their decisions. Once you incorporate what I've taught you today, these systems, into your ongoing management of your firm, you're going to start to feel more and more like Eric, where the team's pulling together, where you have very clear objectives that everybody's working towards, and you start to feel progress and the momentum builds. And every team member you hire, because they're going to be the right fit with your firm, is just going to add momentum to that, add strength. So that's what starts to happen when you see successful CEOs, successful firm owners and leaders start to do these things. Okay, let's go to the next slide. So just to review, and I think I've said this enough, but this is the secret. If there's a secret to growing your firm, it's to do these 3 things that we've reviewed today. Okay, it may not be that, you know, it may not look like rocket science, and it's not. Anybody can do this stuff. You can do this. Okay, if there's a message I want you to take away personally from a mindset or motivation standpoint today, it would be, you can do this. Okay, I've seen construction companies, mosquito squad, you know, pest control companies, software companies. It doesn't matter the company type. I've seen owners who are willing to do this work yield the benefit and leave everybody else around them behind, right? And I don't mean their team members. I mean their competition, their peers, because they've done this work. Okay, Travis, let's go to the next one. Okay, so at Elite Entrepreneurs, at Elite Entrepreneurs, we deliver workshops to help 7-figure businesses grow. We want to help you clarify your vision, enroll your team, and drive performance. That's what we do. We do live 2-day events called Elite Forum. It was referenced in one of the previous quotes, but that's not the only thing we do. So I want to share with you a couple things that we do to help businesses grow. I don't want you to feel this way anymore. There is a way out, and like I said, you can do it, and we can help you. So let's get past these feelings and move on to the successful outcome we're all looking for. Here's how it turned out for Bill Harney. I want to tell you a story from the other side. Remember at the beginning of our call, Bill shared how he's working 70, 80 hours a week. Didn't feel like, you know, anything would get done right if he didn't do it himself. He saw all of the ways that others were doing it and appeared to be successful, and he was still struggling. He's like, I can figure this out. If other people can do it, so can I. Okay, so here's the other side. Side where your business is booming, your team energizes you every day. You're no longer stuck in the weeds, and you have confidence to make the right decision instead of the urgent decision. What changed? Honestly, quite simple. I signed up for Elite Forum. I learned, I studied, but most importantly, I implemented. Trusted the process and believed the results would come, and boy, did they. You see, Elite Forum and the Elite programs aren't marketing workshops or software classes, but it's been the key to our 3x growth in the last 24 months. I learned how to be a CEO, not just an entrepreneur. I learned how to set and communicate a big vision the right way. My team is inspired and motivated. The growth I've seen from every person on the team has been mind-blowing, and my growth has changed me forever. So I know that was a little lengthy, but I want you to see the contrast between the previous slide where, you know, we kind of wallowed in the mud of what it's like to own a business sometimes, to what it can be like on the other side if you do the work that I shared with you today. Travis, so yeah, this is the end result is we get that efficient, that precise, efficient action, but it's coordinated action. So if you think about your firm as the osprey, you got to help bring vision. They've got that awesome ability to see clearly from high above the water. The parts of your business that are the talons to grab that goal, the wings, the feathers, the tail, all of that has to work together, super coordinated, super efficient to get the desired result. And the systems that I shared with you today are the trick to making that happen. Okay, let's go to the next slide. So what happens at Elite Forum? Like I said, it's a 2-day workshop. It is in Arizona. We only allow 8 to 10 companies at a time to come because it's not just us teaching. We'll teach something and we workshop it. So we're actually getting some of this work done with you. In particular, we're making a ton of progress with you on setting the vision, and we're teaching you what the quarterly planning meeting looks like, the exercises that you go through, and how you translate that into strategic progress for your firm, quarter in and quarter out. After Elite Forum, we have several people say, hey, we'd like to continue on in some fashion with the Elite Entrepreneur community. And this is what we've created. It's called Elite Momentum. It's an ongoing program for those who want to be in it, and you can be in it as long as you'd like. But it's quarterly events, monthly webinars, peer group opportunity, open office hours with me once a month to ask questions. So it's just a way to continue down the path with additional development and tools, accountability, and a community of business owners who are doing this work to grow their businesses and reduce the chaos in their life. All right, so we can go on. So I promised to those of you who stuck around that I would offer a free gift. This is my gift to you. It's 30 minutes of my time. That may not seem like a lot to you, but I know this path really well. I've helped many business owners go through this, and I promise that I'll bring at least one valuable idea to you if you want to make some time to schedule with me. There's a link there. You could either take a quick photo of this, or a screenshot or a photo, so you have my contact information. But there's a link there to schedule directly in my calendar, or you can email me or call my direct line. So especially if you're at that 7-figure mark, if you've cleared the $1 million mark, and you know that you're going to build a team and a company, a larger firm, do yourself a favor and set up some time with me. I'll be able to help you. If you're not at $1 million yet, but you think you're going to be there relatively soon, I'd say go ahead and schedule some time. If you're still in that mode where it's all about managing your time and getting that next client, I'm not a marketing expert. I'm willing to talk to you. I might have some thoughts, but I'm not a marketing expert, and I'm not an expert in growing law firms. I am an expert in growing businesses that hit that $1 million mark or are fast approaching it. So if you are willing to set up some time with me and you think that would be useful to you, make sure to get some time on my calendar. I've got a little bonus for you here on the next slide. Those of you who are willing to take action right away, not sit on this, because we all know if you kind of put it off till later, it's not going to happen. If you'll schedule that time with me today when you're listening to this, I'll throw in another training. It's called How to Stop Blowing Your Profits on Hiring the Wrong People. That is a recorded training. I'll send it to you. You can watch it at your leisure. But that's if you set up some time with me right away. Okay, so that's the end of our sort of formal sharing. I think, Travis, we were going to go into some Q&A, and anything else you wanted to say about your experience in our programs or any of the content that I've shared.
No, it's this is such an overlooked piece of the puzzle. I think quite often people think, oh, I could do that later, or it's just not that important. But if you look at every successful company, and this is what really opened my eyes, they've all done this, and they've all done it really well, and they make it a part of the fabric of not only their personal life but their professional life, and it's just a necessity. I mean, it makes everything so much easier. Making decisions is easy because you do it. It's all based on your values and your mission. It's like it aligns everything you do. And people who are frustrated, they're frustrated because they don't have any real purpose. They don't have any systems in place. So they're going in the office every day with absolutely no mission or vision or priorities, or they don't know how to set priorities. It's just, if it's not clear, to people now, I highly encourage you to just, spend some time with Brett, open your mind a little bit, it will become very clear once you start going through this process how much you're missing and how much time you're wasting by not just going through this process and, going down this path and believing in this whole methodology. It's just incredible. And it, it's worth its weight in gold, in my opinion. I waited way too long to do it.
Well, thank you, Travis. And one thing I'll just add to that, I've heard this multiple times from people who've come through Elite Forum and some who've gone into our Elite Momentum programs afterwards. They say, at first, just like any investment, they're not exactly sure what it's going to yield, but they take that step, and before too long, they start to see the value. And you use the term weight in gold. What I've experienced is they come back and say, this is the best money I've spent on developing myself and my company. And that's super satisfying to me, because we're passionate about helping elite entrepreneurs grow meaningful businesses. That's what we do. That's our purpose. And because that's our purpose, when we see it happening again and again and again across multiple business types, it doesn't matter what geography, what industry, everybody is dealing with the same challenges as they're trying to grow their business. And what we've been able to do to help them has been super satisfying for us, because we absolutely love it. So I think we're ready for any questions that people have. And then if you decide you want to throw back up that slide for how they get a hold of us, if they want to schedule time, that would be great.
There's a couple ways to look at this, Brett. We can look at it as people, obviously, you have answered everyone's questions so thoroughly through your presentation that they have no questions. Or it's lunchtime and people may have fallen asleep or have gone out there.
I have a knack for putting people to sleep, so I can go with that. But that will separate those who are really serious about this stuff. This is what it takes to grow your business, and we know how to help you.
Yeah, I agree. And we'll wait around a few more minutes here. Maybe somebody will have a question, but if they don't, they certainly know how to get a hold of you. I strongly encourage you. Brett's happy to spend some time with you. Schedule some time with him. Pick his brain. Understand exactly what they can do to help you with your law firm. A law firm is just another business. People often confuse that. They think this is a law firm. It's not like every other business, and it is exactly like every other business. In fact, it may be even more important for law firms to do this, because it seems to me that there's just not something they teach in law school is anything about business. So it just, spend a little time, understand exactly what they offer, get a hold of Brett. He's offering his time for free, which his time is very valuable. So it's a generous offer. But again, I encourage you to take advantage of it. Well, Brett, if you don't have any final thoughts, I think we've done such a great job. We've answered everyone's questions. So if you want to wrap up and say any final thoughts, and then we can sign off, and then we'll obviously be posting this. We've recorded it. We'll send it out. We'll put it on the website, and we'll send it out to the list so people have another opportunity to view it at their leisure. And I'm sure you'll get a lot more engagement at that point.
Okay, yeah, I would like to say just one more time, the thing I want you to take away from this is you can do this. I know you feel overwhelmed. I know it's hard. You're juggling so many priorities. You feel like any team members you might have, they're just doing a job. They're not actually, they don't care. They don't feel the same ownership that you feel. And that's logical, because they don't own any equity in the business, in the firm. But there are ways to engage them. There are ways to lead more powerfully. And everyone who wants to do this can do this. Just like you figured out how to get where you're at today, you can figure out what it takes to go further. You just have to invest some time and energy into it. But there are resources out there. We can help. We can help you do this. So I just want you to go away from this not feeling more overwhelmed, but more hope that there's a way to grow your firm and reduce the chaos and enjoy your work life and personal life a little more as a result.
Yeah, I think it's something you said is important. It's like, even if it's just a solo attorney, what you've done to get you where you are now is not going to get you where you want to be. So it's important that you understand that you have to invest in developing yourself as well. I learned that lesson the hard way. I thought I knew everything. Man, I learned very quickly I knew nothing. And, you know, the more the time you spend investing in yourself, the better off you'll be and better off your company will be in the long run.
Well, it's been my pleasure to spend some time with you and the AEA, Travis, today. I hope that it's useful for somebody out there. We want to add as much value as we can. We love helping entrepreneurs, especially. I love that you're creating something for entrepreneurial attorneys, right? You made a very distinctive thing here, and you're creating a community and resources, and I want to be a part of that as long as I can, and as long as the community feels like we're bringing value. So appreciate the opportunity and look forward to working with as many people as want to spend a little time with me on a phone call.
All right, Brett, and we appreciate your, you know, obviously your help and support, and we're going to go ahead and sign off because we don't have anything, but we'll go ahead and get this up on the site. And Brett, again, have a great time with your family, and we really appreciate your time, and we will talk to you soon.
Okay, thanks, Travis. Goodbye, everybody.